If you've seen my Clubhouse Games retrospective, you already know that I am a huge fan of the Nintendo DS. It's a system I grew up with and one I still love collecting for. There are just so many cool games that take advantage of all the random tech and hardware Nintendo stuffed into the little device, and it makes the experiences feel unique compared to other console libraries. My current DS library is second in size only to my Switch collection, which is my favorite modern console. This probably shouldn't come as a surprise, but I am in love with the hybrid nature of the Switch. I'm primarily a handheld video game player, so having console quality games on the go is amazing. But I like having the option to play on a TV the 2% of the time the mood strikes me. As such, I'm fully on board with the bring everything to Switch party, and there are lots of great games on the Nintendo DS that I would love to have a second life on the Switch. Whether it be a new entry or a remaster, there are so many one-off games that I think would be great on Switch. So I've compiled a list of the top 5 DS games that need a Switch revival, in my opinion. Really, if the title of the video was accurate, it would be Wallabob's personal top 5 Nintendo DS games that he thinks would be really cool on the Switch, even though most of these are a pipe dream and have literally almost 0% chance of making a comeback. But still, I can dream, right? But YouTube has a title character limit, and that title just didn't really roll off the tongue. For this list, I will be sticking to first-party Nintendo games, mostly because the DS library is so exhaustive, I could do an entirely separate list just on third-party games, which means no talking about the beloved. Secondly, I will try to avoid games that have had sequels or spin-offs after their initial release on the DS, but there are a couple of exceptions. With that out of the way, let's get started with the top 5 Nintendo DS games I would love to see come to the Switch. We'll start with the obvious choice. You've seen the thumbnail, and I don't make clickbait, so you know one of my choices has got to be Elite Beat Agents. Out of all the selections on this list, Elite Beat Agents is a game that, sadly, I've spent the least amount of time playing, as it's a game I've only recently picked up. Now I'm practically kicking myself for not getting this game sooner. Like, when I was a kid, Walmart had it in their bargain bins for like $5 or $10, and I was a moron who still passed it up. Regardless, I've been playing Elite Beat Agents for about 3 weeks now, and it's awesome. An American twist on the Japanese rhythm game Ouendan, and by the same developer team Innis, Elite Beat Agents has you, the player, tapping along to the rhythm as these government agents give people the confidence to tackle their problems through the power of song and dance. The basic premise of Elite Beat Agents is so wholesome. It's a game that makes the player feel good while playing it. While the Switch already has a bevy of great rhythm games, I don't think most of them have the wackiness and charm of Elite Beat Agents. Each of the levels plays out like your average episode of a slice-of-life anime or Saturday morning cartoon, with multiple cutscenes and endings depending on your performance. With so many lovable characters and bizarre scenarios, Elite Beat Agents would be a perfect fit on the Switch. Since the original game is played with a touchscreen, it already fits naturally in handheld mode. For playing in docked mode, I feel like a different control method could be implemented using buttons and motion controls, something similar to Just Dance. Say what you will about Just Dance, but those games are fun to dance to, and I think that same fun factor could be implemented similarly to a docked mode for Elite Beat Agents, giving multiple control options and challenges for each song. But should it be a new Elite Beat Agents game or a remaster of the original? Even though the soundtrack for the DS entry is god tier, I think it would be better for it to be an entirely new game with new songs and episodes. I just feel like there are so many exciting new opportunities that a different game could capitalize on. Honestly, I was blown away by Elite Beat Agents and just how good it is. I definitely love to revisit this game for future videos, and I need more Elite Beat Agents action on the Switch. So, Commander Khan, do you think Elite Beat Agents should make a comeback on the Switch?
Mission complete!
Next up is Nintendogs. Now, I know Nintendogs technically did receive a sequel, but that was only on the new 3DS and kind of served as a deluxe version of the original Nintendogs. And while Nintendogs plus Cats is superior to the original in almost every way, I still have lots of love for the original title, and think the concept of Nintendogs as a whole can be expanded upon in a lot of ways. If you're somehow unfamiliar, Nintendogs is a series of virtual pet simulations from Nintendo created by legendary developer Shigeru Miyamoto. Unlike your traditional virtual pet games like Tamagotchi, which feature fictional creatures, Nintendogs aims to create the feeling of taking care of a pet as realistically as possible. Everything from petting your pup to picking up their poop and even having your pet possibly run away. Anyway, Nintendogs has earned a place in the hearts of its fans. I mean, how can it not? They're adorable. If Nintendogs were to be brought to the Switch, it would be the first time the series was on a home console, and it could take advantage of the Switch's hardware for interesting new ideas. While touchscreen controls make sense for playing in handheld mode, I think innovative motion controls could be implemented when playing docked. Everything from throwing a ball to rubbing your puppy's belly to even holding the leash on a walk can be performed with the gyro inside of the Joy-Con. Speaking of walks, maybe they could even incorporate the leg strap from Ring Fit and include an exercise or step counter for walks for an optional fitness spin to walking your dog. Overall, more animal options would be very cool too. Nintendogs Plus Cats already gave the player different kinds of puppies and kittens, but what about other animals? My girlfriend has some adorable ferrets, so I'm pretty biased towards them already, but maybe there could be other animals too, rabbits or turtles, or even maybe a customizable fish tank that you can keep in the living room. While there obviously wouldn't be nearly as many activities and things you can do with other kinds of animals like dogs and cats, this could still definitely add some variety to the core gameplay. I think Nintendogs could also take a page out of Animal Crossing's book and let you go even more in depth on decorating your house to make it truly unique for each player. Throw in online multiplayer where you can have virtual meetups at your friends' houses or at the parks, and I think you have a solid evolution of a seemingly simple pet sim. I know what you're already thinking. Wallabob, you say. We're already getting Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch. And yes, you're correct, but hear me out. If you've already played Metroid Prime Hunters, you know that it's nothing like the rest of the Prime series. While the Metroid Prime trilogy and, presumably, Metroid Prime 4 are solely focused on their single-player, first-person adventure experiences, as they should, Metroid Prime Hunters is always about the core shooting mechanics and that sweet, sweet multiplayer. Yes, Metroid Prime Hunters has a single-player campaign, but we don't talk about it. It was bad, just no. No! Where the game truly shines and why it's so memorable was for the local and online multiplayer, bringing Quake-style deathmatch shooting to the Nintendo DS with a Metroid theme, and that is exactly the same kind of action I would love to be on the Switch. When Doom 2016 was announced for the Switch with its multiplayer, I had high hopes that that game would fill the same kind of hole in the Switch lineup, and it was fun. For the first couple of months. Now finding a match is relatively impossible. While the other games that I've mentioned thus far I feel would benefit from an entirely new entry, I think Metroid Prime Hunters would be best with the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe treatment. Beyond bringing the game to modern graphical standards, which I know is not an easy switch and would require a massive overhaul and recreation of assets, all the content already present is perfect. Dozens of maps, 7 different hunters, and 7 different gameplay mode types. None of this needs to go away. Maybe bring the hunters from Metroid Prime 3 as new characters, add in a few extra maps with other locations from the Metroid series, like Brinstar, Torvus Bog, or even the Bottle Ship, and it'd be even more perfect. While I could see a multiplayer mode being implemented in Metroid Prime 4, the only time one of the main Prime games ever included multiplayer was 2, and it was okay. Just okay. Personally, I'd rather have the mainline games focus on the single-player experience and have a multiplayer experience return as its own separate spin-off. It worked well on the DS, minus the campaign, and I think it would be awesome on the Switch again. Okay, I know. Who in their right fishing mind wants a new Electroplankton? Well, me. I want a new Electroplankton. Am I alone in that? There is a good possibility, but this is my top 5 list, and I'm sticking to it. Back before Hinabo was a stage that made competitive Smash players hyperventilate, Electroplankton was a DS game created by Toshio Iwai. Well, maybe game isn't exactly the right term. Interactive art toy is probably a better category. Electroplankton is just a simple, interactive experiment into music and colorful visuals. It's fun, it's calming, and it's zen. It's just unlike so many other games. You just play with these musical fish to create music. There's no objectives, no goals, just leaving the player alone to be creative, which leads to some fantastic experimental results. Which is why I think one of the biggest letdowns of the original is that you had no way of keeping and recording the music that you made, something I think a sequel could improve upon. There's not a lot I would change about Electroplankton. The sublime experience of just relaxing and having fun is something that shouldn't be tampered with. All I really want is the ability to mix different Electroplankton together to try new combinations of music. In the original, you could only play with one creature at a time, and having the option to combine more than one type together could lead to interesting results. Pair this with a way to record and export the songs so that they can be listened to again and shared with others, and I think it gives Electroplankton a little more purpose and becomes a fun toy to create music with on the Switch. Introduce a couple of new Electroplankton types into the mix, and you have a game that creates a solid, relaxing environment to just let players be creative. It's weird, it's beautiful, it's Electroplankton, and I need more of it in my life. When I was a kid, I was so excited for the release of Mario Hoops 3-on-3. I decorated an entire corkboard in my room with cut-up screenshots of production artwork from the game that I printed off from IGN. Sorry, this is the only picture that I still have of it, and it's trapped on my DSi. I was a nerdy kid, and I didn't really play sports, but for some reason, I was just so gosh darn hyped for Mario Hoops 3-on-3, and that game delivered on the hype that I was feeling. Developed by Square Enix and published by Nintendo, Mario Hoops 3-on-3 is one of the best Mario sports games in my opinion. It's got attitude, personality, and charm. Everything from the way each of the characters move to slam dunking the ball to their personalized special shots, they're all so unique from one another. Putting the characters into their teams of 3 gives you the ability to make your own ultimate combinations, and the game even included characters from Final Fantasy. I know Square Enix had another stab at making a Mario basketball game and Mario Sports Mix on the Wii, which does feature a lot of mechanical similarities to the original DS game, but something just feels off. I don't know if it's because basketball had to share the stage with 3 other sports, but the game just doesn't feel like it has the same fun and attitude of Mario Hoops on the DS. But if there were a way to combine the speed of the basketball from Mario Sports Mix with the wacky gameplay of Mario Hoops 3-on-3, I think honestly the game would be perfect. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 is just a great arcadey basketball game with charm to spare and has so much incredible fun. And the music slaps. Throw in online multiplayer, some new characters and courts, and Mario Hoops 3-on-3 2 is a day one buy for me. Well, maybe they might need to change the name first. Would it technically be Mario Hoops 3-on-3 2 or Mario Hoops 3-on-3 3, since there was a Mario Basketball on the Wii? Regardless, I need a new Mario Basketball on the Switch. Inject it into my veins! So those are my 5 Nintendo DS games I think need a second life on the Switch. I'm sure there's some of you out there screaming, "Oh, how could you forget Teen Girl's freshly picked rose in Rupee Land?" Or, "How could you not mention Wario Master of Disguise, my second best creation?" Honestly, it's difficult to narrow down the list when there are so many great games on the DS. Funnily enough, if I had made this video back before the March Direct, you can bet Clubhouse games would have been on this list. Yet, somehow, surprisingly, we do have a new entry in the franchise on Switch now. I've even seen a couple of you in the comments hypothesize that Nintendo is purposefully planning on bringing back DS titles for new Switch entries. While I don't think that's necessarily true, and most of my picks are just my own pie-high-in-the-sky hopes with very little chance of actually becoming a reality, I still firmly believe that the DS is ripe with awesome games that could shine if brought back to light on the Switch. But I want to hear from you guys. What would your top 5 Nintendo DS games that need some Switch love be? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.